Hi, everyone. My name is Cicely Dudick, Project Manager of ISSA Show North America, wanting to give a big thank you for joining us here in the ISSA webinar series. Today, I'm happy to introduce the Chemours Company, the official sponsor of this event. They will also be exhibiting at our annual trade show next month in Las Vegas, November 16th through 18th. So don't forget to register and visit them in booth number 4325. If you have questions during the presentation, please submit them in the Q&A box on the right-hand side of the screen, and the presenter will answer them after the presentation concludes. Lastly, this webinar will be recorded and available at www.issashow.com, so you can watch this on demand if you are unable to stay for the entirety of the presentation. I am now happy to introduce the speaker of this hour's session, Jeff Horsiger. Take it away.
Thank you, Cynthia. As she mentioned, my name is Jeff Horsiger. I'm the Global Business Manager in charge of our glycolic acid family of products within the Chemours Company. 31-year history between the combination of the DuPont Company and Chemours. Chemours was a spin-off about 6.5 years ago from the DuPont Company and a wholly owned, wholly separate company. Today, scheduled was Jason Jones, our Global Technical Manager. Unfortunately, given a conflict with his schedule, he's able to listen in to this and take note of any specific questions. But I will try to address as well as I can, as in as much detail as possible, any questions at the end. As was mentioned, please enter them in the chat function, and we will get through as many as possible at the end of the presentation. So I get the distinct pleasure today of introducing our newest brand of family of products for disinfection purposes. Glyclean-D is a global brand offering products under that brand globally that we will review later in the presentation. But it is an offering that offers more effective, efficient, and environmentally safe active disinfection for the cleaning and disinfecting in one step. So with that, we'll kind of review a little bit of what we plan to go through today. Our Glyclean-D family of products are based upon glycolic acid, and we'll go through the basics of glycolic acid, just make sure everyone is on the same page. We'll briefly cover how we as Chemours manufacture glycolic acid, the unique properties that glycolic acid brings to cleaning and disinfecting. A couple of examples of how glycolic acid is used in different industries that might be interesting for the disinfection purposes, which is our main discussion today. And we will introduce the Glyclean-D family of products and how those products will meet the demanding needs of today's formulators. We'll wrap up, and as was indicated, we will have the question and answers at the end. We also have the virtual booth function of this website that will be manned for an hour or longer if needed by Philip Mitness, our formulating industry account executive, and myself. So multiple ways in which to get hold of us and reach out and contact us. So looking forward to dialogue with as many of you as possible. So Glyclean-D, it is a sustainable disinfectant that delivers more. And sustainable in this sense that it offers regulatory sustainability, environmental toxicity sustainability, safety sustainability. It has an excellent environmental profile that we will go over in detail. It provides long-term shelf stability for formulations that utilize Glyclean-D. It's a safer disinfectant versus competing alternative technologies, and we'll review data applying to that. As mentioned earlier, it has great physical chemical properties in formulations. Many of you may know Glyclean-D's active ingredient, glycolic acid, used extensively in a wide range of cleaning and descaling applications. Our manufacturing is a continuous manufacturing process that we will review and we distribute globally with support globally as well. In today's world, it's not just about providing the product. It's providing about all the support you need to be successful in the market. It's technical resources, analytical capability, which seems to be just a more and more critical part of formulating and offering products to end users. Regulatory and product stewardship support we offer, and of course the sales functionality, around the globe. Okay, a little bit about glycolic acid. It is what they call a fruit acid. It's the smallest of the fruit acids. It's a very simple, small organic acid. It's very similar in structure to acetic acid. It's the acid group is on the left here. On the first carbon next to the acid group is the alpha carbon. And attach that, and the difference between glycolic and acetic or vinegar is this OH group. And that OH group, hydroxy group, adds a lot of different functionality and physical properties than acetic acid. So it's in a class of chemicals called, it's an organic acid. It's an alpha hydroxy acid, or an AHA, that you may see reference to. In nature, it is found in a wide range of fruits and vegetables that we eat every day. It's part of our daily consumption of fruit and vegetables, sugar beets, pineapples. It's in our coffee. It's in cantaloupe. It is prevalent in part of our daily consumption. Unfortunately, in the natural sources, and maybe it speaks to its effectiveness as a preservative, it is too low in concentration in which to extract from nature. So glycolic acid that Chemours offers is synthetically produced at our site in Bell, West Virginia, but it is nature identical. It's the exact same structure as this chemical here. So how we make it, just very briefly, Chemours has been making it, and formerly as DuPont, for over 80 years through a continuous process that combines in a single step under very high pressures, formaldehyde and carbon monoxide with a catalyst, producing the glycolic acid. We are the only company that manufactures glycolic acid via this route, and we are the only producer of glycolic acid in North and South America. We distribute all over the globe from our manufacturing site at Bell, West Virginia. So it is a global supply chain. As I mentioned, over 80 years of experience in operating this plant. Glycolic acid was initially developed as an intermediate to the production of ethylene glycol. And during World War II, huge quantities of glycolic acid were made at the Bell site in order to support the war effort. The competing technology is a batch process. It is using monochloral acetic acid. And that monochloral acetic acid is made via different routes, but it is neutralized and then reacidified to form glycolic acid and sodium chloride. There are residual halogenated organics that are in the process. That is the chlorides and the residual products are of concern in some applications. The physical chemical properties of glycolic acid, getting into a little bit of the chemistry here, and I might get myself into trouble, but I'll try to get through. The dual functionality is unique to glycolic acid, especially the closeness or the orientation of both the alcohol functionality as well as the acid functionality in the organic acid. It's a very efficient pH adjuster. Its pKa is around 3.8 and has some natural built-in buffering capability. It in and of itself has surface active properties like a surfactant, but it also imparts, it has a very synergistic effect with other acids, with other cleaning compounds that are in a formulation. It's a very versatile and synergistic compound in which to formulate with. But at its core, and what it really, really loves to do, this molecule, or actually two of them, love going after multivalent metals, especially divalent metals. If you look at calcium and magnesium and their salts, glycolic acid loves that calcium, will pull that calcium into solution, loosening up those scales and deposits, and make them easier to clean, not only by loosening the scale, but also keeping those metals in solution and providing very efficient rinsing and a low residual result after cleaning with glycolic. Certainly you can imagine milkstone and dairy processing facilities, it's very popular, especially in Europe, in cleaning both on-farm and dairy processing. The other aspect of this, as an example, is it has low corrosivity to metals and many materials, and it actually is less corrosive than acetic acid, which is due again part of this added hydroxyl function. The other aspect that this added functionality brought versus acetic acid, which I think we can all equate to vinegar smells and how volatile acetic acid is, it increases the amount of hydrogen bonding within the solutions of glycolic acid to where it has extremely, extremely low vapor pressure. A key property is, it makes it VOC exempt in California, for example. It is non-volatile. Its solutions of glycolic acid are very stable because it does not want to evaporate into the air. A few other unique characteristics about glycolic acid. It is designated as readily biodegradable. It will be 90% decomposed to CO2 and water in 7 days, excuse me. The other aspect is it has low oxygen demand in various waste treatment. You can see all the oxygen that is already on the molecule, so its chemical oxygen demand is quite low. Its antimicrobial activity especially versus other organic acids and compared to acetic or lactic or citric, is a much better and stronger disinfectant than those other organic acids. In part, it's due to that duality of function, and in its microbial mode of action, there is a dual mode of actions in which it will kill bugs as well. It is a water-based solution as we sell it for almost all of our products. It's a 70% by weight concentration in water, easy to handle, easy to dilute. Really the only concern you have is that it needs to be kept, essentially above about 50 degrees Fahrenheit in order to avoid crystallization. Now, if a drum does crystallize, it's relatively easy to put it back into solution with some heat and agitation, and it is fully functional. It's really the solid crystalline crystals that are put back into solution, and the drum is okay to use after reconstituting it. As I mentioned earlier, it's compatible with a wide range of cleaning formulation additives and other acids as well. Has this excellent rinsability, and so it leaves a low residue surface. The other interesting aspect, and this is that it is metabolized quickly by mammals, and we know this because polymers of glycolic acid were the first synthetic absorbable sutures that were made and commercialized back into the early 1970s, polyglycolic acid sutures. And so there have been extensive studies in how the body absorbs and metabolizes, breaking down the polymers to the individual monomers, and how the body metabolizes the glycolic acid very, very quickly. And as we mentioned as well, this non-volatility, the very, very low vapor pressure really provides some unique capabilities and ease of formulation when you don't have to worry about masking and odor in a formulation, for example. So we're going to touch on a couple of industry applications that might be of interest. The first one, and what many consumers that are exposed, that have been exposed to glycolic acid, have been through the personal care industry. We sell a high purity version of glycolic acid called Glypure, and it is one of the stalwarts in the personal care industry. If you need anti-aging activity in a personal care product, glycolic acid is one of the primary workhorses in that industry. And interesting enough, its functionality, in part at least, is due to that love for calcium. So our skin structure, the outermost layer is the stratum corneum. That's the stack of dead skin cells, and they actually do stack up in columns like this. But those dead skin cells are held together with essentially, at least in part, based on calcium. And glycolic acid the Glypure product will go into and loosen up that glue that's causing those dead skin cells to stick together. And just by the fact of sloughing off those dead skin cells, that triggers markers to the dermis to start to produce more skin cells. So that will increase the thickness of the stratum corneum, and that is what provides the smoother and reduces the wrinkles in the skin. But also, as the glycolic penetrates further in, it starts to get into areas where other compounds that are produce the kind of the elastins of the skin. So it helps with that tone, that youthful look, or the glow, it's often called. So it's really two modes of action in skin. It's widely used in facial peels, cleansers, toners, moisturizers, and as part of an indication of how it is compatible and promotes synergy. It's used with acne medical active ingredients to make them work better and more efficiently. And it is growing use in hair care. Glycolic acid in its small size can penetrate into hair shafts, where it actually supports proteins within the hair that provides more manageability, stronger moisturization-like properties to hair as well. Another industry, as we start to get more into the industrial and descaling and kind of showing the wide range of applications for glycolic, oil and gas applications are very significant part of our glycolic acid business. And this gets more into the scaling and scale control, both downhole in rejuvenating oil wells and water wells, used in descaling water system and pipes. It's used in desalting calcium-based salts for oil refining. Before any oil goes through a refiner, it needs to be desalted, and glycolic acid is great at grabbing onto that calcium ion and pulling it into the water phase for desalting crude oil. Certainly, as this group is probably much more familiar with, is its use in cleaning in household, institutional, industrial applications. And it's all those same properties that we've talked about already that make it very attractive in these cleaning applications. It's complete water solubility, compatibility and synergy with other acids and compounds, non-volatile, no fuming, no odors to really be worried about, and VOC exempt in the state of California. We've talked about this already, and I'll keep driving it home, but it loves those metals and pulling those metals into solution. Those metal complexes are water soluble and can be rinsed off easily. It really has that additional cleaning capability to go after some of those difficult soils and scales. Another example in the institutional side is it is a high-end laundry sour. Certainly those institutional laundries are very alkaline in nature, and there's a step to neutralize those before the laundry is further processed. And glycolic in that application can help not only neutralize, but also go after and sequester and pull into solution some of those irons and calcium salts that produce a higher quality laundry product then as well. So the surfaces, we're talking primarily today about disinfecting hard, non-porous surfaces, and a wide range of compatibility with surfaces. Certainly, as with any acid-based products, there are a couple surfaces of concern. Marble, being probably the most prominent, that you do have to be careful with, and it does need to be tested on certain surfaces. But it is in general a very, very safe, non-corrosive to most metals. We see it used in household and institutional cleaners. Its characteristics make it excellent for bathroom, toilet bowl cleaning solutions that it's used extensively around the world. Mentioned already the dairy cleaning on farm and dairy processing, and really any water system where you have to worry about scale buildup. It can remove scale as well as help prevent it. Cleaning capability. We'll move on to the next slide here. So this is a study that was conducted on white tile with a synthetic iron oxide mixture, and it's kind of a modified of this ASTM method. And it's a white tile with a certain amount of cleaning solution that is put on a sponge with a specified weight. And that sponge then is drawn back and forth across the tile a specified number of times. And then a light meter is used to measure cleanliness to get a quantifiable result. And you can see how, citric acid, very commonly used in formulations as an organic acid of choice. Sulfamic acid, very, very commonly used as well. And even phosphoric acid and how it compares on iron scale cleaning. Likewise, looking at hard water scale, metasilicates included in this mix, but a calcium carbonate based soil or scale. And these are on black tiles, so you can see the reflection. What you're seeing is reflection of kind of the fluorescent lights and such. So very glossy black tiles. Same process. The pre-saturated sponge is moved back and forth across with a certain weight and number of times. This is a 5-pass scrub. And seeing the performance against these other commonly used organic acids. Very strong performance as a cleaner. And we talk about sustainable, and it's about being a sustainable supplier of these materials as well. We are the world's largest supplier of glycolic acid. From our plant in Bell, West Virginia, all of our raw materials are sourced in the US, and we distribute globally then from that site in West Virginia. But we also engage with regulatory bodies for ourselves and on behalf of our customers as needed. Certainly, the Glyclean-D 70 product is registered with the EPA as well as EUP product formulations that we'll discuss in a moment. We have National Sanitation, NSF registrations. We've engaged with customers on customer behalf with the Department of Agriculture, Health Canada. We're engaging in the UK with the Great Britain BPR process that's we've notified under. Certainly, we are well engaged with ECHA in Europe, both it's fully REACH registered. We've just completed our BPR dossier, which has been submitted to the Dutch authorities, which is the competent review authority for glycolic. And very much looking forward to progressing through the BPR process with glycolic. Likewise, Korea is introducing the BPR process of their own, the KBPR, and we are supporting our channel partners and our customers in Korea for registering via the KBPR. And as another example, in Turkey, for the Turkey REACH program and most likely eventually the BPR as well. We partner with our customers, with many of you, on sub-registering our formulations in order to have a turnkey solution to bring clean and disinfect formulations to your customers. And I stress the clean and disinfect. All of the products, formulations that we have registered and we sub-register are one-step clean and disinfect. So it's the GLP antimicrobial studies, both viruses and bacteria, are with the organic challenge, so we can maintain this clean and disinfect to help the efficiency and effectiveness of our formulations to you and to your end use customers. Again, we will offer the full suite of support to our customer base: technical, analytical, regulatory, product stewardship, sales. We bring the full package to support our customers. I want to be remiss if I didn't note that we supplied all of our customers during the COVID shutdown and the surge in cleaning and disinfecting products. We did not miss deliveries of glycolic acid and our Glyclean products during the worst of the lockdown and the surge in demand. Some disinfection basics. I'm not going to go through everything on this chart in detail, but we can certainly make this available to you if you have an interest in seeing this in more detail. But I'm going to touch on some of the high points. But to start with, the one common factor that all disinfectant types is that they, in some way or another, inactivate or destroy the microorganisms. But after that, there is considerable difference. And if you have experience in the industry, you know that there are really kind of these 5 classes of disinfectant active ingredients. Glycolic acid is in this organic acid category. It certainly has its positives in biodegradability and cleaning and clean and disinfect in one step. And it, has its negatives around acid-sensitive surfaces. It's moderately priced. It's definitely not the cheapest product on the marketplace. But if you look at the overall value it can bring with one step, clean and disinfect, those environmental properties that consumers and others are looking for, it brings tremendous value to the category. Certainly the big dog in this fight is the quaternary ammonia compounds. High volumes, obviously lower pricing. They're very efficient disinfectants, but really, it starts to more and more questions arise around, the quats and, their environmental toxicity, potential bacteria resistance that could grow with widespread use of quats, growing regulatory interest and pressures. We already see that outside of the U.S. Alcohols have their place, but certainly the flammability and the VOC are significant drawbacks, but they certainly have their certain niche applications. The chlorinated compounds, are the bleach related products. Halogenated, bleaches, they have some toxic components or can produce halogenated organics upon use. We really see, it's really in the U.S. that is bleach is used as a disinfectant. Many, I would say most other parts of the world, do not use bleach for disinfecting purposes. Not the least of which is the concern around collateral damage, from bleach. And peroxides and the oxygen kind of based disinfectants certainly have their applications in which they perform well. The couple of drawbacks, they have shelf stability, limited lifetime. There may be 2 component systems. There can be safety concerns, if you're storing these as raw materials. So it's also the oxidative technology is non-selective. So whatever it wants to spend its energy on, it's going to do that. It might be the bugs, it might be other things as well. So it certainly has its drawbacks as well. So as we dive deeper into really, how Glyclean-D stacks up against, in this case, a couple of examples of quats that was published in 2020. So this is publicly available data. We overlaid where on this chart, it might be a little bit small for you, but where the green dot is where the Glyclean-D, the glycolic acid tests out under these same, against these same organisms, in the same tests. You can see this is a logarithmic scale. So it's, from an order of magnitude of improvement in environmental toxicity to a 100-fold, or maybe even in some cases greater improvement in environmental toxicity. So I think it's just one data point and indication that glycolic acid is advantaged in environmental toxicity for sure. There may be other advantages as information becomes available on health and other parts of the environment as well. Certainly in Europe, the European Commission has established, the MRLs, the maximum residual levels for quats that can be used in biocidal products. The Republic of Korea, in Korea, there was a significant issue with quats, and so there's significant concerns from government and public over the use of quats to the point where they're almost a non-factor in their markets. It was tied to deaths that were used in humidifier or dehumidifier disinfectants. Closer to home, quats are under consideration as a priority chemical and proponent for biomonitoring in the state of California. I read one article where some school systems were already banning quats from use in classrooms. Certainly from the COVID-19 pandemic and the widespread use of quaternary ammonias that were applied, there's a lot of examination that's taking place on the environmental and health effects of quats and raising concerns around the regulatory future of these formulations. And finally, just to point out, in the EU, where there is being converted to the BPR regulatory process, each of these individual quats has to be registered individually. But that raises the question then of if you want to blend quats, which in many applications of quats, they are a blend of two or more quats to make the, to get the target application or the target organisms. As it stands now, each of those blends will need to be registered with the BPR as well. So there's really a lot here favoring glycolic acid. Glycolic acids is a single, simple, small molecule, and certainly in the EU environment, makes it a very straightforward process in which to register your disinfectants. So you'll see this going forward, and if you visit us at our booth at the ISSA show, which I hope you do, booth W4325, it's time to change the status quo. And it's for these reasons that we've discussed: the environmental acceptability, the readily biodegradable, the naturally occurring, its duality of action on minimizes the resistance potential with use of glycolic acid and Glyclean-D, and it's the VOC exempt. It's highly effective cleaning agent that makes it pretty unique as well versus alternatives. The safety and ease of use of Glyclean-D, you're not worrying about the irritating fumes, it's readily dilutable, it's compatible with other ingredients, all make it an easy to use product. And certainly, what is our main concern when we start talking about disinfectants is efficacy, the antimicrobial performance of glycolic acid and Glyclean-D. And It's highly effective. It goes after, some of the toughest viruses. It's registered against rhinovirus, which is a non-enveloped small virus. So it's one of the harder ones to kill, and effective against many of the common bacterias as well. Put all this together, the value that you can bring with this disinfectant in cleaning, in application, in antimicrobial performance really contributes to its overall value in the formulation. What are the specific products that we bring to market? The Glyclean-D 70 is the main product for the US. It is what is existing MUP, the Manufacturing Use Product Registration with the EPA. This product is what is being used as the registration in the Korean BPR and in other countries as well. You might have seen and might know of Glyclean-AM, our previous brand name. It is essentially the same as Glyclean-D 70. But since we are offering the disinfection products globally, we wanted to have a global brand that we could extend across all of the regions in which we, really all over the globe and all the countries that we do business in. The D70E, the 70 HP, and the 99 are all products that are part of our BPR dossier in Europe. And the D70E is the standard, essentially our technical grade product used for most of our cleaning and disinfecting applications in Europe. The D70 HP is a high purity version of 70% glycolic acid and water. And there are growing level of interest for that, especially in Europe, where they want that higher purity product with that same glycolic acid functionality and sustainability. Most unusual on the list is the Glyclean-D 99. It's a solid crystalline product, really used for anhydrous type of formulations and some very specialized formulations. But it is used today in cleaning and disinfecting, disinfecting applications in Europe. So it's this family of products, the D70, the D70E, the D70 HP, and the D99 that are part of our global product portfolio. But as the US and North America are concerned, it's really this D70 is the main product of interest. I've mentioned some of our formulations, our EUPs that have been registered with the EPA. The two that have been most active really are this Glyclean Hard Surface Cleaner. It's 5% glycolic acid, a pretty heavy combination of solvents and surfactants, an excellent cleaner, degreaser. It is labeled, and this is actual product label approved for SARS-CoV-2. And Glyclean, another formulation that's active is Glyclean Pine Cleaner. It's 2.1% glycolic acid, active ingredient concentration. Its use can be used neat as a disinfectant or can be diluted for cleaning purposes only. We also, and it's actually our oldest registration, is the Glyclean Toilet Cleaner. It is still existing. If you search for it, you can find it. It's 9.5% glycolic acid, designed for in toilet bowl application for, the properties of glycolic acid are excellent at descaling and cleaning, but also being able to kill bacteria in the toilet bowl. It is under reformulation. It aged maybe not so gracefully over the years. And so we are in the process of modernizing this formulation and updating it, and we'll be updating it with the EPA. What we're most excited to talk about today, though, is our new formulation that we've developed that is starting to go through the EPA registration process. We're calling it our broad spectrum disinfectant and cleaner. It's 5.5% glycolic acid. It will carry the SARS-CoV-2 label claim for virus. It will initially also include the Salmonella, Staphylococcus, and also the Pseudomonas claims. So it will also be able to carry both 1 minute kill time claims for some of the organisms, as well as hospital grade disinfectant claim. A little bit more. I've probably covered some of this already. Got ahead of myself in my excitement, but we're just now wrapping up and expect actually any day the final GLP study from the antimicrobial testing lab. We're prepared to submit this formulation, the label, the CSF, to the EPA as soon as we have that final report from the testing lab. But this is a great formula, I think, for this industry. So I mentioned it is 5.5% glycolic acid as active ingredient. Only 3 other ingredients in this formula. There's water. There is a 0.5 weight percent of a renewably sourced surfactant, and then a little bit of sodium hydroxide in which to neutralize it to a pH of 2. And that's it. So really 3 kind of active ingredients and water. Simple to make, long-term stability, and I think this is our learnings from the past year. This will be a very cost competitive formula for the I&I industry, as looking for all of these properties, good cleaning performance, in a single package that we believe will be hard to beat. I like it as just a free and clear formula, just those 4 components, but we will have as alternatives colorants, fragrances that can be used to customize the formula to what our sub-registrants may be interested in. So we anticipate once we be able to submit this to the EPA, approximately about 4 months of review time before it will be commercially available for sub-registration and for sale, into the U.S. market. But if you are in other markets other than the U.S. and where we just need to perform or provide the efficacy data to back up our claims, this product will be ready to go to market very, very soon. I mentioned, kind of how it's constructed and the ease of and low cost of formulating and making the product. We also contracted a third-party cleaning evaluation of not only our broad spectrum formulation, but also our hard surface cleaner formulation, against several types of, surfaces and substrates and soils, against a couple of, commonly used disinfecting kind of multi-surface type cleaners that would, compete. And you can see how the Glyclean based products, especially as we look to, the more heavily solvent and surfactant based, really performed outstanding in these specific tests. So good cleaning, excellent cleaning performance, along with very good disinfecting properties and great formulating and cost performance profile. So in summary, it feels like I've been talking for quite a while, but actually, I'm going to wrap it up by how they tell you should tell them what you told them in the wrap up. So I encourage you to engage with us both during this webinar, through the virtual booth as part of this webinar afterwards. Visit us at booth at the ISSA show. But it's this summary that makes Glyclean-D and the D70 for the North American market, an exceptional choice for your new. It's if you want to diversify your portfolio of disinfecting formulas, Glyclean-D would be an excellent choice because of its environmental profile, the regulatory advantages of it, the long-term shelf stability of it, safer in disinfectant versus competing alternative technologies, great physical chemical properties for formulations, our second to none global supply and continuous manufacturing, and to wrap it all up in a package that you will feel fully supported in. So I really encourage you to engage with us, ask the questions, come visit us during the trade show. We are taking, if you're paying attention, we are at our booth. You can take the Change the Status Quo quiz, and you will be able to, if you assume you passed the quiz, you will be entered into a chance to win an iPad Pro. So please stop by. We look forward to seeing you face to face and physically if you're going to be at the show. And finally, you can reach out to us, Jason or myself directly as well. And certainly search for Chemours Glyclean-D from any search engine, and you'll see our product pages immediately be brought up if you want to find more in detailed information online. So with that, I will turn it back over to Cecilia, and we can get started on some of the questions and answers. Hopefully. All right, so we're into, sorry, it took me a moment to get through, get out of the presentation mode, and starting to review what is some of the questions that are coming up in the private chat. And again, we'll be going through these. First question, we are seeing supply shortages across many of our raw materials. What is the current situation for your supply of glycolic acid? It's a great question. We hear that very, very frequently across all of our industries. Certainly, we are in a not in any sort of unique position, facing the logistic challenges that many of us face, but from our supply standpoint, we make a lot of glycolic acid. The disinfection market is one of our most important markets for our business, and we will assure that supply of the Glyclean-D products will not be in short supply, in going forward. With that said, certainly trucking freight, ocean freight, is always a challenge, and the more lead time we have, the better chance we have of meeting your delivery dates. The next question that came up, when will this broad spectrum disinfectant product be available? Mentioned it briefly, but we're the final piece of the puzzle that we need for our submission to the EPA is the GLP lab study, antimicrobial lab study for bacteria, which is it's unbelievable how long some of those studies and reports have been taking to get, but we are expecting it any day. The study is complete. It passed, several of the organisms, a couple of the organisms are 1 minute claim times with the BSD. So we anticipate between 4 and 5 months from when we submit it to the EPA, which will be here in the next week or two. Another question came up. If you had to pick, what would be the top reason I should use glycolic acid formulating a C&D product? It's hard to pick just one. I've been involved in the glycolic acid business continuously for the last 20 plus years. Glycolic has been near and dear to my heart for most of my professional career. So I love everything about it, but I think its unique properties, as far as physical properties, as far as the low VOC, its love for the calcium metal, tied with its ability to be a very good disinfectant. I mean, if you want the properties of an organic acid, but the performance of a quat and the unique clean and disinfect in one step, I'll give you those two top reasons. Next question, the broad spectrum disinfectant formulation that is pending, when do you anticipate being able to offer that formulation for sub-registration? I think I just touched on that one. Does the disinfectant formula require rinsing? It does not in itself require rinsing. It wipes off fairly clean. I would say the exception is if it is a food contact surface, it does require a potable water rinse. But other than that, the wiping and wipe off that you generally do with a cleaning, it has a very low residual components in it, and I think it will be even more attractive is the BSD, the broad spectrum disinfectant, due to its very limited set of components and compounds in it. What options are there if wanting to tweak the surfactant package in your registered formulas? Unfortunately, it would require a change in our registration with the EPA. So if it is needing to be tweaked a little bit, a different surfactant, a different level of surfactant than what's specified in our CSF, our confidential statement of formula, that requires an amendment. In some cases, it might just be a notification with the EPA, but likely require an amendment and perhaps even proof of antimicrobial efficacy, depending on how big a change it was. Next question was, for companies that would pursue using Glyclean-D as an active ingredient in a formulation of their own design, outside of the four developed by Chemours, is the microbial testing information readily available from Chemours? And would you have an idea how long registration with the EPA would take based on your experience? Well, that's a loaded question. One is we've got a pretty good idea of and a lot of data going back many years on the use of glycolic acid as a disinfectant. So we can provide kind of the range of efficacy based on the weight percent in a formulation, but depending on the other components in your formula, you could see better, or you could see worse performance. So it still requires that antimicrobial testing of the formulation itself. Both, you need for the US, you need a virus and you need, a bacteria to put on the label. So you would still have to get your formulation tested, but we can certainly help you get started and help you get in the range of glycolic acid that is needed to meet your needs. And would very much enjoy, talking more with you. And Jason has a great deal of experience in formulating as well. So, we can certainly get you started in the right way. So a question came up, what is the difference between this product and quats? A couple of different, I think we covered some of them. It's mode of action on actually deactivating viruses and bacteria. It has a duality of mode of action. It's not just cell disruption. It's not just, interfering with the internal workings of those cells, but it's both of those. And that in and of itself provides its uniqueness. And you tie that along with, for example, the improvement in environmental toxicity, I think is a key difference as well. Quats can bind to sediment and, wastewater treatments, captured in sediment. And, it's more and more concerned as far as, what's the ultimate fate, once quats are captured in the environment and where they go. Glycolic acid is readily biodegradable. So once it's in, the system, the environmental system, it will readily degrade to CO2 and water. It does not have the long-term the longer term effect that other chemistries, including quats, can have. So the next question was, when is this product available in Latin America and in Asia? This product, the Glyclean-D 70, can be available in those countries and countries in those regions immediately. It's depending upon each country's registration of regulatory products. Many are requiring really just the registration of the formula and providing the proof of efficacy for that formula. So if you're interested in licensing or sub-registration of one of our formulas, the hard surface cleaner, or when the broad spectrum disinfectant comes out, those products, we have the data sets available that can be used to register those formulas. But if you have your own formulas and want to work with the Glyclean-D 70 or these other products in Europe, we can provide those products today. Kind of reached the end of the line for questions right now. I'll remind everyone, we're in the new exhibitor pavilion at the ISSA show. W4325 is our booth number. Stop by, say hello, enter the, take this, change the status quat quiz, and enter your chance to win the iPad Pro. Talk to us about your disinfection needs and formulating needs, and we'll have a full staff there that will really look forward to engaging with you. Likewise, feel free to send email messages to myself and Jason, and Philip Mintness and I will be available in the virtual room after this webinar concludes. So feel free to engage us at that point as well on a one-on-one basis if so desired. Okay, so I think with that, we're wrapping up. It's with 3 minutes to spare. How about that? I surprise myself even sometimes. So thank you very much today for joining us. And again, we look forward to speaking with you and engaging with you and learning about how Glyclean-D can do more for you. So with that, I'm logging off, and have a great day.